RPN, the Roddenberry Podcast Network.
This episode of Mission Log is brought to you by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Wondering how you can support this show? I'll tell you a great place to find out. Patreon.com/missionlog.
Mission Log, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Episode 333, Shakaar.
Welcome into Mission Log, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Ken Ray. Mission Log is a show with a mission. It's right there in the title. That mission is to watch an episode of Star Trek, then talk about that episode of Star Trek, the ideas and ideals presented, and then see whether we think the whole thing holds up today.
This week, Shakaar, the one where Kira returns to her freedom-fighting ways with friends from her freedom-fighting days. Also, Winn ruins everything. I've got trivia coming up in a bit, but first,
I'm going to let you know how to get in touch with us. Mission Log Pod is the address to find us on Facebook, Skype, and Twitter. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, we would love to hear your voice. 323-522-5641 is the phone number to call, 323-522-5641. Our email address is missionlog@roddenberry.com. Our show website, including discovered documents, is at missionlogpodcast.com. And please do remember, we may use your comments on an upcoming episode of Mission Log. John, lots of new faces in this episode of Deep Space Nine.
So many. It's like I could do a trivia thing about all of these new faces.
Well, you see, I was going to say, unless they were every single one of them newcomers, I would imagine there's a tremendous amount of trivia.
Yeah, we're going to focus heavily on guest stars, but you know what? We'll do the other stuff, too. Trivia for Shakaar. Well, this episode was written by Gordon Dawson. So way back in 1969, Gordon had an uncredited role in Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch, and soon after that, he was working as a writer, then a producer in TV. And one of the shows that he did was Brett Maverick back in the early 80s. And it so happens it was on that show that Gordon gave a writing assignment to a young guy looking for a break, Ira Steven Behr. Now, this episode is Gordon's only on-screen credit for Star Trek, but he did an uncredited polish on the script for Profit and Loss. Today's episode was directed by Jonathan West, and we've mentioned Jonathan before since he was a director of photography on TNG for most of the episodes after Marvin Rush left. Jonathan then moved over to DS9, but it was on TNG that he got his first directing gig with Firstborn, and while this is the first of his directing credits on DS9, he will go on to direct 5 more episodes. Now, you know I love location shooting, and in this episode we have a great deal of it, all accomplished at Bronson Canyon and the caves therein at Griffith Park. Extremely convenient to Paramount since it's right up the street in Los Angeles. We've seen it used numerous times before on Star Trek and other productions. Just a few episodes you might remember being shot there: Darmok, The Inner Light, and Ensign Row from TNG. Or you can go way back to TOS for This Side of Paradise and Bread and Circuses, all of those just being a tiny fraction of the times Bronson was used. All right, Ken, you mentioned the cavalcade of guest stars this week. Well, of course, we say welcome back to Louise Fletcher as Winn, and then we meet the Vulcan Savar, played by Sherman Howard. And he's one of those constantly working actors you've seen or heard 100 times before, even if you don't remember the name right away. He was Lex Luthor in the short-lived Superboy series. He had guest appearances on Seinfeld, Quantum Leap, and more. Feature film credits include Day of the Dead and Lethal Weapon 2. His voice credits are far too numerous to even get into. And Ken, this one is for you. He had a short recurring role on Max Headroom. He was Simon Peller. And he will be back for one more on-screen Trek in Voyager. And he lent his voice to the Star Trek Armada video game. William Lucking is Pharrell. So many credits for William, going back to the mid-60s. He's been in feature films like The Limey and Red Dragon, all the way to TV shows like The Partridge Family, The A-Team, Knight Rider, and Voyagers. He was Piney on Sons of Anarchy, and he had multiple non-recurring roles on Murder, She Wrote. That doesn't even touch the numerous other credits like miniseries he has to his name. Seriously, he works all the time. William will be back for 2 more episodes of DS9, then once on Voyager. Diane Salinger is Lupiza. Now, she might not be a household name, even though she is related to Pierre Salinger, that was JFK's press secretary. But Diane has some amazing credits to her name. She was Apollonia in Carnival. She was in the movies Batman Returns as the Penguin's mother, in Pee-wee's Big Holiday, and one of her very first professional roles ever was as Simone in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Oh, and she was in the Vern Miller Story along with Armin Shimmerman and a young John Champion. We also have John Doman as Bajoran Colonel Linares Holum, another familiar face just because of the volume of work. Now, John didn't start his on-screen professional acting career until the early 90s, but he worked steadily ever since, everything from voices on Beavis and Butthead to recurring roles on Oz, ER, Law & Order, and Gotham, in which he played mobster Carmine Falcone, and he was also Commissioner Rawls on The Wire for 6 years. This is his only Star Trek appearance. In the title role, we have Duncan Rager as Shakaar. Duncan has one of those overachieving backgrounds that makes you wonder how he did it all. Champion figure skater, boxer, Shakespearean actor. He even had a cable talk show when he was 14 and a radio show when he was 16. He's turned up in a ton of on-screen roles. Genre fans might know him as Dracula from Monster Squad. He was Charles on the V TV series. He even played Zorro in that TV series from the early 90s. Oh yeah, and he's also an award-winning artist who has the distinction of the lifetime title of Royal Canadian Artist for his achievements in that field. Just in case you weren't feeling like you've done enough with your life. We did see Duncan once before in Star Trek when we covered TNG's Sub Rosa. Of course, who could forget that he was Ronan in that episode, and he will be back twice more as Shakaar on DS9.
It is Kai Winn. Exactly, as you have seen her before.
Prologue. Commander Sisko and Miles O'Brien are playing darts in Quarks. Well, Sisko is in Quarks, O'Brien is in the zone, hitting bullseye after bullseye, possessed of the feeling that he cannot lose. Sadly, he can't win this round, with Sisko called away. There's a call from the Bajoran Provisional Government. Call complete, Sisko goes to tell Kira the news. The first minister of the Provisional Government has died. His replacement, Kai Winn. Act 1. Odo and Kira are going over security issues for Deep Space Nine. Well, Odo is. Kira is distracted by Kai Winn's ascension to power. Spiritual leader and running the government? The First Minister gig is just temporary, though she's running unopposed for the next 6-year term for the position. Odo thinks Kira's distrust is tied to the death of Vedic Bareil, though Kira says it's more than that. She can't help feeling that if given power, Winn will never let it go. Odo says Bajor seems to disagree, and Winn is seen as the hero who brokered peace with the Cardassians. Of course, that was Bareil's doing, but Bajor doesn't know that. Kira can't see how Bajorans could hand over their freedoms to Winn, though Odo says one of the hazards of giving people freedom of choice is sometimes they make the wrong one. Back in her quarters, praying for Bareil, Kira gets a surprise visit from Kai Winn. She's surprised to see Kira still mourning Bareil's loss. It's been 3 months. Kira calls Winn out on not letting Bajor know Bareil's place in the peace treaty with Cardassia, though Winn says Bareil did what he did for the good of Cardassia, not for his own glory. Anyway, down to business. Planning season is coming up in the Rakantha province in about 6 months. Been a few years since anyone cared since the Cardassians wrecked Rakantha, one of Bajor's most productive agricultural regions during the occupation. But Bajoran scientists have figured out a way to reclaim the soil. get Rakantha growing again, and they can produce crops for export, which could attract interstellar business, which could boost Bajoran attempts to join the Federation. Now here's the problem. The soil reclamators are being held by farmers in Dakor province, Kira's home province. Leading the farmers, Shakaar, friend of Kira's, leader of Kira's resistance cell during the occupation. Winn wants Kira to convince Shakaar to give the reclamators back for Bajor. By stealing the reclamators, Shakaar is acting in his own self-interest, not for the good of everyone. Kira says Shakaar is one of the least selfish people she knows. She'll talk with him for Winn, though she can't guarantee that he'll do as Winn asks. Act 2. Welcome to Dakor. Dusty, brown. Looks like this soil could use some reclamating. Kira finds Shakaar no problem. He says Farrell and Lupiza, other members of the resistance cell, have farms near here as well. Shakaar thinks they'll be happy to see Kira, though Kira's not so sure. Shakaar knows Kira's come to talk about them returning the soil reclamators. He says he'll need time to think about it. Things do go well, though. Lots of laughs with the former comrades, though on the topic of the reclamators, they're quite serious. As far as Farrell and Lupiza are concerned, the answer on returning the machines is no. Later, when Shakaar and Kira are alone, he explains the situation. They waited 3 years for the reclamators, finally got them 2 months ago, and were told they would be theirs for 1 year. Then, as soon as Winn became First Minister, orders came to return the reclamators for the Rakantha project. Kira argues that that's a good project. Exports, galactic standing. But Shakaar's not interested. She's talking about exports while he and the others are trying to feed the people of Dakor. Kira suggests a meeting. Shakaar can meet with Winn and talk over the situation, try to reach a compromise. He doubts it'll help, but he'll do it. For Kira. Act 3. Winn is visibly disappointed in Shakaar's decision to hold on to the reclamators. Kira argues in his defense. If Winn would talk with Shakaar, would see the work that they've done in Dakor, she's sure that they could find some sort of compromise. Frustrated, Winn says Kira can tell Shakaar that they can meet. Then Kira can go back to Deep Space Nine. Kira offers to act as intermediary, though the First Minister says that won't be necessary. Tell Commander Sisko I said hello when you leave Bajor and go back to Deep Space Nine. Back in Dakor, Shakaar says he'll be interested in hearing what Winn has to say, though she's not getting the reclamators back. What she has to say, though, you're under arrest. Oh, not directly. Under her direct orders, a group of Bajoran security officers have come to the farm to take Shakaar into custody. Shakaar says he'll come along quietly, though he does not. He takes out one guard while Kira takes out the other. Preparing to take off, Shakaar makes sure Kira knows what she's getting into. What happened with the guards can be explained away. Heat of the moment stuff. If she goes with him, though, she's in it. Shakaar says Kira can go home, but Kira says she is home, and she's been lied to by Winn for the last time. Act 4. There's the Bajoran equivalent of an all-points bulletin out for Kira and Shakaar. Civil police have taken Shakaar's farm and are scanning it for reclamators. They've also detained members of Shakaar's old resistance cell and are sweating them for info. The wild cards in the whole thing are the police. A lot of them were resistance fighters too. They probably don't want to fire on fellow Bajorans who are just fighting for what's theirs. So Shakaar's plan, along with Kira, Farrell, and Lupiza, is to head to the Kola Mountains, pick up anybody else who's on the run who made it there, then head into the hills. 2 weeks have passed, and Winn's called in the big guns. That is to say, she's asked the emissary, Benjamin Sisko, for help. See, Shakaar's resistance to her orders is starting to spread. She's had to declare martial law and suspend local government in the hill country to try to restore order. She didn't really want Sisko to know that, but he does. He also knows that support for Shakaar's resistance is growing all over Bajor. Winn says she doesn't want this to divide her people. Sisko suggests withdrawing her troops then, which she says she will do. if the Federation would supply a peacekeeping force in their place. Sisko's not interested in hunting down and bringing in Shakaar for Winn. She says it would help solidify the relationship between the Federation and Bajor. She also says that if Bajor can't rely on Sisko's help, maybe Bajor will just withdraw its application for Federation membership. Wow. Overreact much? In fact, Sisko says everything Winn has done since this whole thing started has been overreaction. She's called out the militia and is risking civil war over a couple of soil reclamators. But that's not what it's about. When someone like Shakaar can defy the law and escape punishment, Winn says it's then that society can descend into chaos. This is a test by the prophets. They want to see whether she can live up to the roles that they've given her as First Minister and Kai. And she will not fail them. She will stop Shakaar by any means necessary. Cut to Shakaar, Kira, and company fleeing the Bajoran militia in the hill country. It looks like Shakaar's freedom fighters may actually have to fight. Though with moments to spare, Kira fools the militia's censors into thinking the rebels are somewhere else. That was a close one. Shakaar and his people can't keep running forever. And so, new plan. They'll lead the Bajoran militia into a canyon, no way out, and Shakaar and company will be waiting. Act 5. On a ridge, Shakaar and company stand, guns at the ready, aimed at the militia below. Ready, aim, nothing. They were ready to fire, but Shakaar's not interested in killing his own people. He reveals himself instead, and goes down to talk to Colonel Linares Holum, current leader of the militia chasing Shakaar, but former resistance leader. They know each other by reputation. 3 things they have in common. They were both resistance, they're both good fighters, and neither wants to see Bajor plunged into civil war. Shakaar says he wants to lead his people out of this situation. He wants to take them home. Linares says that won't be possible, though Kira says they will have to find a way to make it possible, which leads us to the office of the First Minister. She's glad to see Shakaar in custody, until she learns he's not in custody. Linares has escorted Shakaar to the city, where he plans to enter the election for First Minister. Linares says the whole army is behind Shakaar, though Kira assures Winn that this is not a coup. It's a free election. If Winn wants to run for First Minister, she can. Though if she does, Kira says the entire incident against Shakaar and the Dakor farmers will be made public. When the facts are known, Kira's sure Winn will lose. She'll still be Kai, but her days in the office of First Minister are numbered, so start packing. Back on Deep Space Nine, Kira tells Sisko that things are looking good for Shakaar's candidacy. A few other people have entered the race, though Shakaar's looking at a commanding lead. He's even gotten a statement of support from Kai Winn. With a welcome back from her CEO, Kira extinguishes the flame that she'd had burning for Bareil. The end.
Oh, Ken, I mean, normally I would say, hey, great job, and it is a great job.
And I would say thank you. Yes.
Yeah, no, of course, you did a really good job, but I think you forgot about O'Brien in there.
Did I? Did I really? All right. O'Brien was in the zone, so in the zone that Quark started taking bets. Then O'Brien's shoulder got popped out of its socket when Quark was handing him a drink. Surgery was required. O'Brien lost the match. Quark lost a lot of money. And when his shoulders healed, O'Brien couldn't find the zone with both hands on a map.
There we go.
There we go. There
All
it
right.
is. Oh, but
well
maybe Bashir will end up in the zone.
No,
that's not going to happen.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Well done. I'm glad you got everything covered there.
Thanks,
that
man.
Little addendum. Nice. And man, so many characters to talk about. And I love Pharrell with his big old floppy hat and singing about being happy all the time.
Well, he is happy. Can I just say, I knew, and the thing is, you mentioned in trivia how many things that guy has done.
Yeah.
Piney is what I remember him for, but I couldn't for the life of me place it. And then when I looked at his whole list of stuff he had done, I was like, well, I don't have that kind of time. I do remember him from Sons of Anarchy, and man alive, his voice and Shakaar's voice both, they they were just amazing. Just like just listening to them, like if they want to do voiceover for everything from now on, hey, right? No, I'm not going to say that. Anyway, yes, if they want to do voiceover for anything from now on, pay them whatever they want. Because
I mean, there's so much that goes into trivia that you just have to leave out because inevitably, you hear, oh, you didn't mention this, and I think I can't remember if it was John Doman or maybe William or whom did an episode of Night Stalker, which was the revival of Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Oh, yeah. So, see, you have to mention that one too, because
I did, but I didn't. But
you're getting emails for days if you don't say something about Kolchak or anything that followed it. Well, not anything that followed it, but anything in that vein that followed it.
Hey, I like that we kick off the drama here with Sisko coming to Kira. Hey, I'm so sorry to tell you that a character that we've never met and have never seen and you don't care about is dead. That's, that'll get us going right away. Odo, not a lot of Odo in this episode. He's got a great line though. One of the downsides of giving people freedom of choice is that they sometimes make the wrong choice.
Yeah, well, it depends on who you ask, I guess.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Not if you ask them.
Made the right choice. Yeah.
Well, yeah. What is it? History is written by the survivors, winners. I would actually say. Yeah. I know it's supposed to be winners, but yes, I'd say, anyway.
Interesting thing, this whole soil reclamation idea, this technology. So reclamators can detoxify the soil and make it fertile again. So the Bajorans apparently built like 2, and they did that in 3 years or something. And apparently that's a technology that can't be replicated because then you'd have replicated reclamators. And by the way, you know what you get from reclamator replicators? You get replicated reclamators, Ken.
Wow. How long did you practice that? I'm curious.
Not at all, actually. I just had it in my head, and I couldn't get it out.
Well done. Very well done. I will say it doesn't make a lot of sense. The whole replicator thing doesn't make a lot of sense.
Or reclamators either.
No, whichever. The soil reclamators don't make a lot of sense because apparently they were promised to Decor 3 years ago. They finally got them 2 months ago, and now they got to give them back. You're right. Yeah. It makes no sense that there would only be 2 of them. And also, Kira had never heard about it. Like the first she's heard of the fact that they can actually, reclaim the soil of Bajor for Bajor is when the new first minister comes and is like, oh, by the way, secret technology. Except not secret technology because these farmers have been waiting for it for years.
Right. Yeah.
What? I don't know.
Got one word for them. Hydroponics. just look into that.
All right.
You've been to Epcot.
I've been to Epcot, yes.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite things there is the land pavilion. You got all the hydroponic gardens. It's amazing.
I hate to inform you. I think the land has actually been turned under for the Disney Plus TV Ride-O-Rama.
Stop. No. I can't.
The Living Seas is a Nemo thing, and what did they tear down? They put Frozen in the Norwegian.
In the Maelstrom.
Tune in for our other podcast. What the heck happened to Epcot?
Yes. Yeah. Don't even get me started. And Ken, they took the Energy Pavilion and they made it Guardians. So I can't. They
paved Paradise and put up a parking lot, John.
Precisely.
Because they needed more parking because everybody loves Guardians of the Galaxy and they'll actually turn up now.
Yeah. Hey, Star Trek things. So in Shakaar, stylistically, it's interesting to me just how rural the Bajorans are. Really rural.
Yeah.
I mean, so you think about it. So this is a place. I mean, for Bajorans, we just learned they've had space travel for 800 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in fairness, though, it was a wooden ship.
It was a wooden ship, yeah. But now, it's reasonable to me that some people would eschew certain technologies and they want to live closer to the land. Like, I get that. We met people all throughout TOS who were like, yeah, I don't want to live in your particular version of paradise. I want my own version over here with cows or whatever, you know. So I understand that. At the same time, though, this is really rural. And but they have a few little pieces of technology. It's like, okay, we can have a reclamator that will detoxify soil, and then there are a few little pieces of technology around, but it looked like, they're drinking out of clay cups that they just made, last week. And then they still, of course, they have beam weapons that they use when they need to go fight other Bajorans, eventually.
Yeah, it's a shame, actually, because they can have reclamators, but they can't have replicators.
Right. See? And if they had a replicator, they could replicate the reclamator.
See, I'm just going to keep doing what you were doing. Yeah, this is one of the things that we talked about a lot on TOS, actually, and a bit in TNG as well. It's just you need to really quickly telegraph for people. We're talking about farmers here.
Yeah.
So how are we going to do that? Well, we're gonna go to a set of Gunsmoke and then put a character that we know in that. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, go back to what you were saying about the land, about Epcot and hydroponics. I got to figure, even if Bajor is Bajor, and it is by most accounts, even if Bajor is Bajor, things have advanced enough that their farm would not look like a place that Marshal Dillon would have to ride to find out who robbed somebody.
You would think not.
It's shorthand, though. It's shorthand for, we're talking about farmers now. So
it is, yeah. I think I've mentioned on the show before, so my grandfather was a farmer. My dad was raised on that farm, and he retired. My grandfather retired around the time I was born, a little bit after, but they still owned the farm and still used it and leased out parts of it. But even then, it's like, okay, well, you got trucks and you got an automated milking system for the cows, and there's a TV in the living room.
Yeah, I was driving someplace recently and got my wits scared out of me because there was a low flying plane.
Whoa! And
I realized the reason was because I was in farm country and it was a crop duster, and that's the 21st century. So I think probably they would have advanced beyond whatever the heck it was that Shakaar was rocking in decor.
Oh, please tell me you did a Cary Grant. You put on a gray suit and you ran away from the crop duster. I would
Well, no, I was driving, so no.
Oh, okay. I would get out of the car and I would go do that.
Yeah, and go buy a suit. And then hope they were still there when we get back. Hey, shout out, by the way, Miles O'Brien, spending a good bit of time in this episode in the zone, though he doesn't end up there. I don't know if you noticed, though, John, going at one point for his 47th straight victory.
Whoa,
which one? 47th.
Golf clap. Golf clap for that. Nicely done. Honestly, though, that whole bit with O'Brien, I don't know if you felt this, but when he hurt his arm the first time, or his shoulder the first time around, I thought it was a bit.
Yeah.
And honestly, I expected a scene later in the show where, he paid off Bashir, or said, oh, I'm so glad I'm not, Quark's little dart-playing monkey anymore.
Or he just put all of his money on the Vulcan.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. See,
that'd be good. Yeah. Not dishonest at all.
Yeah. I feel like with Sisko in the past, sometimes he's almost a little too deferential to Kai Winn. He doesn't want to make waves, and it's not his fight, But I really like their verbal sparring in this episode. And you mentioned it in the recap. He just straight up tells her, you're overreacting. I'm not going to help. Yeah. It was a good moment for Sisko. It was really nice.
Well, I mean, he is doing what he said wasn't untrue. I mean, I think he also takes no small amount of joy in not helping Kai Winn. But, it is an internal Bajoran matter.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, although you would hope then, he would stop her if she were just to go in and start wholesale slaughtering people.
I would hope.
You would hope that, yes. But, he didn't lie. I don't think.
Right. Yeah. And I like that he says to her, well, I haven't spoken to Major Kira in quite some time. And I'm just like, great. If you work for Sisko, you just take time off.
Yeah.
you just disappear. And it's like, oh, welcome back.
Isn't that what Odo did? Odo's like,
that's true.
I'm going to need a ship and for you to ask me no questions. And Sisko's like, well...
That makes sense.
You're Odo, so I guess I gotta. Hey, so they decide they're going to go hide up in the Kola Mountain, right? Or they're going to go Kola Mountain and pick up everybody else and then go into the hills. Remind me, Kola Mountain is just east of Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Yes, that is right. And you cannot keep that anywhere near Pop Rock Mountain.
No, you can't. No, that's wow. Pop Rock Mountain. That's good. I like that. That's actually, I believe that's how you defeat a Gorn. You get rocks from Cola Mountain and rocks from Pop Rock Mountain.
Oh, wait.
Put them in a thing. Yeah.
That was it. That was it. I believe it was William Lucking who played Pharrell, however you want to say it, played a character named Gorn in Night Stalker, the revival series of Kolchak the Night Stalker.
And you were seriously going to leave this out of trivia?
Look, I mean, here's the thing. There's so much trivia. There's so much to talk about. Isn't it better that it comes up naturally?
That would be like, it'd be like if he played, he played John Kirk on an episode of Love Boat, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to leave that out.
What do you get when you cross Cola Mountain and Pop Rocks Mountain? I do not know, but urban legend tells us that it is not good.
So Odo said something that really surprised me in this episode.
What is that?
Kira is talking about Kai Winn and not liking the fact that Kai Winn is now, first minister, and this is too much power. And Odo says, you and I have a different perspective than most Bajorans. Mm-hmm. Is he identifying as Bajoran?
That's a really good question. In the moment, I didn't think so.
Oh, really? See, because I can see how there are like different ways to read the line. Mm-hmm. So if he had said it like, you and I have a different feeling than most Bajorans, then I'd be like, oh, okay. But it felt like the emphasis was on most Bajorans, in which case he was sort of saying, we're like this other set of Bajorans who really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of the Bajorans are kind of just like, fooled by the whole thing. Like, and if you think that there's nothing to that, that's fine. I really thought the way it had read was, or the way he had read it was, we are of a special group of Bajorans who X, Y, Z, and doesn't matter what that is. We like to slick our hair back. We're those kind of Bajorans, or we like whatever that kind of pie was. We don't really care for it. Yeah, we're those kind of Bajorans. I felt like he was sort of not lumping himself in, but I felt like he was sort of including himself in the Bajoran milieu.
It's interesting. Yeah, I can see exactly why it would sound like that. And is it almost a sort of reflexive that he would do that? That he definitely does not think of himself as Cardassian. We met his, right. Even though he worked with them, and he had that very interesting kind of familial relationship, this father-son relationship with his Bajoran quote-unquote, keeper scientist, played by the great James Sloyan. So maybe that is just sort of like almost a subconscious thing. That he kind of reverts to that. Well, this is the form that I take. I'm in this quasi-Bajoran look that I modeled myself after the scientists who were studying me.
Right. And, I mean, DS9 is a Bajoran station, and, of course, we know he has the feels for Major Kira, who, I don't know if you know, Bajoran.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
So that's with the whole, the nose with the thing? Yeah,
they don't play it a lot, but she is. Yeah.
Interesting. Would have never guessed. Yeah. Well, that's a good little thing to point out. Maybe that is, and I wonder, like when you get something like that in the script, and you're Rene Auberjonois, and you're talking to a Jonathan West, like, hey, let's look at this line for a moment. Am I identifying as Bajoran here? Because he's definitely not, and he did express to Garrick how he wants to go home, quote unquote, to his people, the founders, the other changelings. But here he is, as you say, on this Bajoran station with other Bajorans, raised by Bajorans.
That's, that really is an interesting thing, though. I mean, if you follow it just like another, 30 seconds, because since we're not even necessarily agreed that was how the line was meant to be heard. Certainly the Bajorans would be the people that would show him the largest example of sort of community, camaraderie, familial feeling, right? Because you could say, well, they're the people in Starfleet. And first of all, I mean, there are questions about how Starfleet, a lot of the Starfleet people that he's been in contact with have been, at least since we've seen them take over Deep Space Nine. But then also, Sisko might get promoted. He might not be there tomorrow. He's not married to Deep Space Nine. He's married to Starfleet. But Starfleet's married to, go where the heat is or go where the heat isn't. They're not going to be there. Whereas Bajor for the Bajorans is a thing. Kira, whether she agrees with what Kai Winn is doing or not, she's going to be there for Bajor. And he might actually, because when he said he wanted to go home, it's not because, he misses that, cold graphite mountainscape that he saw. It's because of the camaraderie. It's because of the association of the feeling of togetherness with that. Literally in his case. I can see why he might think of Bajor as home. But if we're not sure that that's what he was saying, then we can skip on.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about other Bajorans. Let's talk about Kai Winn for a moment.
Okay.
She who comes on screen and I feel a cold chill. Because, man, do you remember sometimes we would do the lightning round on the live show? We'd ask who's your favorite Star Trek adversary, and a good number of people say Kai Winn. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, but she's no Gul Dukat. She's no Borg. She's no, and wow, boy.
Oh, she's 1,000 times. She's worse than Gul Dukat, I think.
Oh, yeah. And she's just, I see her come on screen and I just, oh boy, we're in for it. She says about Bareil to Kira, she says, well, Bareil left us to walk with the prophets. Sort of glossing over the idea that she was pushing for and sort of manipulating Bareil into this feeling that he had to stay alive in a very dangerous way to help her win this peace treaty.
Right.
And then he was just carrying out the will of the prophets in order to justify his not getting any credit for the success of the peace treaty. Oh, no. You should know. Anybody who loved him would know that he didn't want any credit for it. And blah, 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 all the way through the episode, anything that comes out of her mouth. They do an amazing job in this show, and I mean DS9, but specifically this show, of showing you how through Kai Winn you can use religion and belief to justify anything, to justify any position. And yes, and I know that Kai Winn's motivator is power, because she either has power, wants to keep it, or she is out to gain more power. But religion is the bludgeon that she uses against others and uses to protect herself. Anything that comes her way that is a challenge, she can deflect by saying like, oh, well, that was the will of the prophets. And if you try to challenge that, if you try to counter that, well, you're just going against the prophets. How dare you do that? She's amazing, and she's written incredibly well to be that manipulative and slippery to get her way into and out of any position with this safety net of using people's belief against them. It's fascinating to watch, and it's partly why it makes my skin crawl whenever we see her on screen. Has not anything against Louise Fletcher. She's a genius. She's brilliant. No,
she's amazing. I mean, I mean, in a lesser actor, or an actor with less ability, you give that part to Andie MacDowell.
Why are we picking on Andie MacDowell?
Because she's a horrible actress. She's beautiful, and occasionally she's okay in stuff. Like, I think she was really good in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. I think she was really bad in 4 Weddings and a Funeral and other stuff. It's like, it's a crapshoot whether she's going to be good or not. Louise Fletcher shows up in anything, almost. I can't think of anything I've seen her in that she was bad. I can only think of a couple of people that I would see and go, they could also have played Kai Winn. I'm not saying, I'm sure there are thousands of people who could have done it, but she brings evil.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about this idea of the psychology of belief, because it comes up again in a couple of other places that struck me in this episode. And what is about our pal Pharrell? Who we're just so kind of we're enamored with the camaraderie and the characterization of the small group of people that Kira knows in here. And there was this thing that I found very interesting about Pharrell losing his arm and that moment where he talks to Kira about his decision to not have that fixed. It's the 24th century.
Right.
There are very good doctors who can do amazing things that we can't even imagine. You can turn a human into a Romulan and back again in the course of an hour-long episode of TNG. That's how good medicine is in the 24th century. But I really wanted to get into the psychology here and what is maybe partly self-punishment or guilt. But at the same time, he was successful in what he set out to do. His mission was a success. Mm-hmm. You know, he prayed to the prophets. They wanted to get his friends out of confinement, even if he had to lose his life to do so. But in the end, everyone got out. And the only casualty here was that he lost an arm. Nobody died. And he could have had it replaced through modern technology. But he chooses not to do it because, in his words, it would seem ungrateful to the prophets.
Yeah. You know what Cisco should do, honestly? He should start running shuttles from Bajor to the wormhole.
Yeah, and go, look, the prophets.
Okay, do me a favor. Ask the Wormholeians if they want you to keep going without an arm. Would you please just ask them that?
Well, exactly. So I feel terrible for this kind of thinking. You know, there's no way, with the exception of Cisco picking him up in a runabout and saying, here are the prophets. Prophets meet Pharrell. Pharrell meet the prophets. There's no way for Pharrell to know what the prophets were thinking then or what they would think about him wanting to replace his arm. Mm-hmm. Now, if he could talk to them, they might say, what are you thinking? You have doctors who can put your arm back on. Go get an arm.
Right.
And I know that this is somehow, maybe not to us as the viewing audience, but to the people gathered there and in his own head, it's supposed to make him seem kind of heroic and at the same time a little sympathetic. But he's holding on to this moment. He's holding on to that pain, and he doesn't need to.
You know what the prophets would say to him? Why do you live here?
There.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you live here? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The prophets don't care. They don't.
No, they're aliens living their non-temporal, non-corporeal lives.
Right. The best you could... Was it... I probably talked about this before. Was it Sirens of Titan, where they have the Church of God the Utterly Indifferent? I can't remember if that was Sirens of Titan or it might have been Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but basically the idea is, God made everything, and he's like, all right,
yeah,
that was good.
Next,
and the rest of it's up to you. For him to say, it reminded me of just, yeah, It's not. I assume we've all known people like that. I don't know if you have or not, but I assume that we've all known people who that was their thing. That was the thing they did. And if that thing was 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 10 years ago, that was the thing. And there's no... What's weird about it to me, though, is the people that I've known who were like that in my past, that was seriously like the one thing that they did. And that was it. Like after that, they stopped, right? Pharrell's still going out and doing stuff. He still wants to make things happen. He still wants to feed Bajor.
Yeah.
But he wants to do it with one arm.
He could do it better with two arms.
He could do it better with two arms. And I don't think the prophets would be like, well, he's forgotten who we are. I think the prophets would actually be like, I'm sorry, and you were, and I would know you from, because that's how the prophets are. That's, it's like, it's Cisco, Quark, and the Grand Nagus. They're the three that the prophets have talked to in the past decade.
That's it.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. It's a weird kind of selfishness, for lack of a better word here, because, again, if you move on past that and you realize, wait a minute, we're past the war, we're past that one moment that was traumatic and terrible. Look at how much more I can do if I am healthy and able-bodied. I can do so much more for the people who need me now.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is not to take from anybody who has actually suffered in war. No, because, honestly, it's only in having this discussion right now. I didn't even think about this before, but it's reminding me a tiny bit of, wait for it, This Side of Paradise. Because everybody's like, oh, look, they're not working. Well, they don't have to anymore, right? Was sort of my feeling on it. I know you had a different feeling about it, and a lot of people had a different feeling about it, and they've yelled at me over the years, and that's fine. it does not take anything away from your willingness to sacrifice if you actually do well later. It doesn't take away from what you did if you make yourself better after that. To stay in that place for no better reason than because it feels like it would be disrespectful to not stay in that place. Because here's the other thing, and pardon me for using this term, it's going to sound callous, I don't mean to. He's wearing it on his sleeve.
Yeah.
Hey, I lost an arm saving you. Yeah, well, I could actually take you someplace where you could have another arm.
No.
And I would still be grateful to you, and it would not lessen anything that happened.
Yeah.
It was kind of it was troubling.
Yeah. And by the way, before we move on, I don't want anybody to think that I am solely coming down on this religious or quasi-religious belief aspect of this episode, because I also thought that there was a nice little parallel with the Vulcan, Savar, playing darts with O'Brien, because he is so ready to just use logic so he can win because O'Brien hurt himself. So instead of just saying like, oh, hey, I'm sorry you hurt yourself. We can stop. We'll play again sometime. I hope you're all right. He's just like, oh, good, you're hurt now, so I win. So literally, I don't make the rules. I just follow them. Now pay up. And we've seen this before with other Vulcans we may have met who are just so adept at bending logic to fit whatever the outcome is that they should be. I'm not comparing this specifically to Pharrell, but we were talking about Kai Winn before in this and her ability to bend the belief system to fit whatever outcome she wants or whatever she's trying to generate, in this case, a civil war. But here's Savar doing the same thing in this situation. Vulcan, who shouldn't care about possessions, shouldn't care about winning in this case, but, if the logic is on his side, sure, we'll take that payout any day of the week.
That you were able to pull something worthwhile out of the O'Brien storyline, you, my friend, are in the zone.
I'm in the zone.
With faith restored in humanity. Wait, not humanity. Bajoranity. Bajornanity? Bajorality. Anyway, with everyone living happily. Wait, not happily. Cautiously. Guardedly optimistically. Pensively? Anyway, with things having happened, it is time to see what we can take from Shakaar.
The episode is called Shakaar, John. Lots of nuance, lots of subtlety to the naming of this episode. There's a character in it named Shakaar.
Oh, so wait, so he was the guy in the show called Shakaar.
And they were like, we could call this show lots of things, but why don't we call it Shakaar? The only problem is you'd be inclined to go, it's like the Enterprise incident. You'd be inclined to go, it's the one with Shakaar. But you actually said during trivia that he's going to be back 2 more times as Shakaar. So I think maybe they misnamed it because now
they could have called it Standoff at Kola Mountain.
They could have. I love the Pop Rocks and Kola Mountain thing. It's a great idea. So Shakaar is the name of the episode, and this is the part of the episode of Mission Log where we talk about the messages, morals, meanings, ideas, ideals, whether the whole thing holds up. We'll begin there, I guess, John. Shakaar, does this episode hold up as far as you're concerned?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think we both hit the fact that the B plot has no bearing on anything at all.
I don't know, though. There was a feisty John Champion who said last segment that he actually saw a little bit of a parallel.
Well, it's a fun little accidental parallel.
Okay.
Believe me, they were not thinking too hard about this. And here's the thing. We all like O'Brien, and now the dartboard is a bit that it feels like the show is committed to.
Right.
That's fine. Like, shows have bits. They have recurring bits. Our show, for one, has recurring bits, much to the chagrin of some listeners. But I'm not sure that it merits the entire B plot here. This is like a fine spice that you need to use sparingly throughout the show when you have a bit that you want to revisit. It's like Morn. I've not grown tired of Morn. at all. At all. But I've grown tired of the dartboard now. We've seen it like 3 times.
Oh, I love the dartboard. I really do. There's something about it because they can talk about going off to the holodeck, right? But or the holo suite. But we're not going to see the holo suite. And they can stand around and yell Dabo all day long, and we'll have no idea what they're doing. Darts is something that we can actually access as 20th and 21st century people, I think. I am actually loving the dartboard thing because it makes much more sense to me than the food thing. I mean, because there are 3 meals, they don't spend a lot of time having those meals. This is something they can do to sort of blow off steam. I can't believe that this is actually a point of discussion, but I'm again on the dartboard. Because
I think it's a little. Maybe I wouldn't feel that it was overplayed if we just hadn't had a breaking and entering incident to get the dartboard.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like we're overplaying the significance, and when we do that, it stops becoming as significant down the road.
Oh, see, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. This is the poker table from TNG.
It is. It is 100%.
Did you tire of that?
I didn't, because I didn't feel like they beat us over the head with it.
Oh, okay. I'm not there yet with the dartboard. Yeah.
Cool. Well, check back with me.
Mission log is produced. Oh, wait, we're not done.
Hang on. All right. Let's talk about the A-plot, though. So you got political and character intrigue, which I think are both done very well. The relationships are solid. The character background and camaraderie is all really interesting to watch, even though we're feeling a little mixed here or a little sad about Pharrell and his life. The soil reclamators, that's the MacGuffin. Doesn't really matter what they are or how this would logically work itself out. The point is that we get to expose Kai Winn a little more for who she is, but more importantly, we get to dig deeper into the Bajoran experience. And at least some of them are too smart to be manipulated, and that's great to see. More than just that, they are too smart to fight each other, which is nice to see. This time, this day, at this moment, they didn't pick up their guns and start shooting each other, except for that one guy, but they got rid of him very quickly. And I know that this isn't how things will go forever and ever on DS9, and I really like seeing Kai Winn be on the losing side, even if it's just for one brief shining moment in this episode. There's at least some hope there. And the other thing this episode has going for it, this cast is knockout. I mean, this is a great cast without fail, from the shortest on-screen bits, probably Savar here, to the bigger cast on Bajor. They're just all awesome, and I could watch them over and over again, and I'm glad that we have more of them coming up. So as a production here, I think it's really excellent. A lot of production value with them being on location. It's really hard to find fault with it there. And I actually did find a message here that I think is a positive one for the episode. But before we get into that, what do you think about the show?
Oh, yeah. Production-wise, it's absolutely amazing. I don't think there's... It's funny because you can tell they didn't have a B plot because there was... so they have the whole discussion around the table, right, with Pharrell and... Lupaza, and they have that discussion, and then she's like, yeah, well, they're not getting the reclamators back, now let's have some pie, right? And then they just cut to exterior, and then later it's Kira and Shakaar outside. And normally that's where we go back and Jake would be like, no, seriously, I have this freighter captain I want you to meet, right? Or whatever. But there's like so much like the B plot, and the B plot's, it's not even a B plot. It's like interstitials. It's like a quick cutaway. It's like the puppets on Hee Haw or something. It's like nothing. Yeah. Yes, the stuff with the as a production, acting, even the writing, all of it. I think it's good. It's an incredibly well produced episode. I'm curious to find out what message you found in it. And maybe it's because I know that things haven't turned a corner here. Yeah. Maybe it's because I know it's all going to go poorly again. The one thing that frustrates me about the episode is there was no real message to me. I mean, but maybe that's because I know that it's going to go bad. I mean, just because we hear that Kai Winn has given, Shakaar some sort of support, we know her to be what she is. And so that's not going to mean anything. That's going to end up being bad. And it's just a matter of, finding out how, and does Shakaar get to live through it? Yeah.
Well, see, I mean, this to me is kind of the good thing about the pretense of the way that we do Mission Log, where we're sort of pretending that this is whenever it was in 1995 that this aired, or I probably have the year wrong at this point because there are so many, where we go, oh, okay, here's where we stopped today. Here's where this episode landed today. And we don't necessarily know what's coming season 4, season 5, 6, 7. Mm-hmm. And what we got here, and presumably then have another week before we get another episode, and however long before we revisit the Kai Winn plotline here, there was something that I really liked, which is that scene with Shakaar and Kira and Colonel Hullum. I thought it was really good, and it took me right back to TOS. It was sincere, it was adult, it was full of reason, and people seeing each other as people. These are soldiers who decided to see each other as fellow Bajorans and put their weapons down. And that's all it took. That's all it took in that one moment, is to decide not to fight today and realize that the motivations, the political powers are irrelevant to seeing the humanity. And I realize that's the wrong word, because they're Bajoran, but seeing the humanity in each other and saying, this is not us. We're better than this. We can do better for Bajor and for the others around us. I thought that was a really sweet, wonderful scene. And I realized at the very next moment when we see the three of them confronting Kai Winn, it's like this, it's this feel-good moment that we know is just setting ourselves up for more political intrigue. But you don't even get to have that moment of the three walking in together unless you have that moment in the valley with them just stopping what they're doing and saying, we can't fight each other. We can't do this.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I wish I could. And the thing is, I don't actually know what's going to happen. I mean, I know that Kai Winn is still around as a bad guy. Sure. So I assume she's going to get it over on Shakaar. Here's what I will say. Every time hope has been introduced on Deep Space Nine, they have also then pulled the rug out from under you. Yeah. And so 100%. And so, for you to say, oh, there's this hopeful moment, that's all it's going to be. Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe I'm wrong. And I look forward to when I eventually finish watching Deep Space Nine, finding out that I was wrong if I in fact was. But it's like we talked about on other later iterations of Star Trek that we're not getting to tonight, that you're not getting to for like 10 years maybe. I don't know. But like every time they introduce something like hopeful in a number of different Star Trek presentations at this point, that hope is only there to sucker punch you. Yeah. And so when I get to the end of this episode, the fact that he was not declared first minister at the end of this episode indicates to me that he's never going to be first minister. If this was going to have a happy ending, they would say, 3 weeks later or 6 weeks later or whatever. And he's been named to the 6-year thing, and maybe they don't live happily ever after. Maybe something still bad happens to him, but then you can have that moment of hope. You've still got an ignorant populace out there that's being manipulated largely by Kai Winn in her power. And yes, Shakaar did stand up for a second, and that started to sort of take over, but now she's made, nice words, and we know that there are a bunch of sheeple out there that are still going to listen to what she says and follow that way. I know we don't know that, except that's all Deep Space Nine has given us. Yeah. Is, maybe this will go well. Maybe this will be good. Oh, look, it's just dark. And that's as wonderful as the episode is. And this is a wonderful episode, as you say. There are some really good moments in this episode, as you say. I've been hurt too many times before, John.
Well, Ken, I'm just going to send you some Shakaar fan fiction. That's the only way to fix this. That's it.
Thank you very kindly for that. Hey, Mission Log is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Executive producer Rod Roddenberry. Have you checked out all the podcasts on the Roddenberry Podcast Network? Are you sure you've checked them all out? I'm talking about shows like Mission Log Live, Women at Warp, Priority One, The Trek Files, Daily Star Trek News, and Shabam!
Shabam!
Podcast.roddenberry.com. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, that'd be neat. Patreon.com/missionlog is the place to do that. And for more Star Trek news and discussion, be sure to visit trekmovie.com.
On the next Mission Log, Facets.
Some of the music for Mission Log provided by Warp 11, online at warp11.com, and from the album Messages by Key Theory, free to download at kitheory.com. To keep up to date with everything happening with Mission Log, listen to Mission Log Live, available where you get podcasts, and be sure to visit the show's site, missionlogpodcast.com. End transmission.
Podcast.roddenberry.com. The Roddenberry Podcast Network.